Hi, and welcome to the Commissioner's Report. I'm your host, Jeff Foley, and I'm joined by District 3 Commissioner Bill Braswell and Bill Beasley, Polk County Manager. Thanks for joining me today, gentlemen.
Glad to be here.
Absolutely.
So I think we're going to put some numbers to Polk County's growth. We all know that Polk County is large and that it's growing daily. Can we talk a little bit about what your role as the county manager is?
Yeah, I am from the viewing audience perspective. I am the CEO or the CAO. I'm the Chief Administrative Officer, the Chief Executive Officer of the county. The County Commission, they hire only 2 employees. There are only 2 employees that report directly to the board, and that is the county manager and the county attorney.
And remember that.
Absolutely, every day. But the other roughly 2,250 employees are indirectly or directly reporting to me through division directors. So my job is to essentially run the entire county operation. And when we get a chance, I'll talk to you just how big and complicated county government operations can be.
Before we get to that, I think it's important to point out that's not necessarily unique to this county, but in other counties, the county commission is tasked with running the water department and the sewer department and that sort of stuff. Not here. We've got it, like Bill said, a CEO, and he runs the whole show, and he does a great job.
So I would think in that role you've got a lot of information up there about the county.
It's something that has been ingrained over years. I've been with the county now for almost 18 years. I came from Charlotte, North Carolina, the Charlotte metro region, where I was an assistant county manager in the Charlotte area. But over years, I think that experience and that institutional knowledge now, I understand it, that I've gotten older, but with age comes wisdom. And in our case, that institutional knowledge is invaluable in terms of how we do what we do, when we do it, where we do it. All of that collectively has just, I think, been a good fit for Polk County, and we've got a great staff out there, though. That's where people would ask me, Bill, what is your job? My job is to see that they have the resources to do their job. Mm-hmm. That's a little easier said than done sometimes with politics and taxes and fees, but I'm just the administrative side of the organization. It's the men and women in the field that are doing all this work. That's where the rubber meets the road.
I'd love to know a little bit about how Polk County came to be.
You know, one of the things, I used to be I'm still a big baseball fan, and that's how I got to know Polk County, Florida, from the spring training circuit that I would come down here with a few friends from the Carolinas. But Polk County, I think, people may not know this, but there are 12 states in the nation that have a county titled Polk County, and almost all of them are named after President James K. Polk. Polk County, Florida, it was President Polk was our 11th president. Polk County was founded in the 1850s time frame, I believe. We may have been maybe the 30th, 35th, 39th county in the state of Florida. But the decision was made at the time that let's name it after President James K. Polk. And that's how Polk County came to be. We were split areas that was between Hillsborough County and Brevard County, and that was merged in some form or fashion to create Polk County. But Polk County, if you look at kind of our roots, ag, citrus, that we're an inland county. We have different dynamics as opposed to coastal communities. But Polk County, Florida is it's my home. Mm-hmm. I have had folks ask me, when you decide to retire, are you going back to Carolina? The answer is no. Polk County's my home. I love it here.
So there's 12 Polk counties.
In the nation.
In both of your roles, you get a lot of emails and calls from residents that are happy, that are not happy. Have you ever had somebody from another Polk County reach out to you with a problem?
He may have.
Absolutely.
I haven't, because they know exactly who I am and they're focused on getting something fixed. So they're focused in on me pretty hard. But I think you get a lot of stuff like that.
Not a lot, maybe 2 or 3 a year, mm-hmm. But it's not uncommon for someone to have a question about Polk County. They'll Google Polk County, and somehow they'll believe that the first hit that they come across is their county. But the 2 that come to mind in the last 6 to 10 months, I've had one from Taylorsville, Georgia. There is a Polk County, Georgia. This gentleman emailed me about his concerns of some less than perfect work that the Polk County Utilities Department has done. Well, I initially thought maybe this was a gentleman who had property in Polk County, Florida, and that property was serviced by our utilities division. Well, the more I looked into it, he was specific to an address in Taylorsville, Georgia. And so I ended up communicating with the gentleman going, do you mean Polk County, Florida? And he went, no. He thought he was talking to Polk County, Georgia. And then the most recent one, I think, was a young lady in, I want to say McIntosh or McKintock, Minnesota. Mm-hmm. There is a Polk County, Minnesota. And this young lady was emailing me and questioning the rules and regulations associated with having chickens in her front yard. And I first reacted.
And we probably have the same rules.
Well, so I first was unsure. I said, well, do you live in one of the cities? Do you live in a subdivision? There are certain restrictions on what you can and can't do with chickens, specific to our ordinances. And when I started communicating with her, I realized she was citing a city that I had never heard of before. And then I started kind of peeling that back. And she thought she was communicating with the county administrator in Polk County, Minnesota. Mm. So that it happens once or twice a year, but it does happen. And that's how big or small this world or this country can be when people think they're talking about Polk County in their jurisdiction, in their halfway across the country.
Well, speaking of size, paint the picture geographically for me of how big Polk County is.
Huge. Let me use a couple of. Polk County, Florida is about the third largest land size county in the state of Florida. Polk County, Florida is about the 7th or 8th largest county in the country that's located east of the Mississippi River. Now, you get out west of the Mississippi, there's a lot of large counties out there.
They're all desert. That's the key there. They're just desert. Yeah.
Polk County, Florida, land-wise, is larger than the entire state of Rhode Island. Polk County, Florida is slightly larger than the entire state of Delaware. The population of Polk County, Florida is larger than several of the western states, North Dakota, South Dakota, Idaho, Wyoming, yeah. Some of those states. Our population is larger. I came from the North Carolina area, the Charlotte area, and Polk County, Florida is about the size of 5 counties combined together in North Carolina. It's a large dynamic. Good example is when you think about Polk County, we're over 2,000 square miles. I live in South Lakeland. I can literally drive from my house to Clearwater Beach or St. Pete Beach and be on the beach faster than I can drive from the southeast portion of Polk County to the very northwest portion of Polk County. It is that large, and it's a compliment to the men and women who work for Polk County in terms of the logistics of getting the services done every day, all year. In terms of those services, the windshield time is a logistics factor for us in terms of how we service certain areas. But the public safety response times, you've got the very high, dense urban areas, and then you've got some of those real rural areas. But the size and shape of Polk County is a logistics factor in how we deliver services.
And I think that's an issue that a lot of people just don't understand. I get calls all the time, people criticizing, why don't you farm more out? Why don't you do this? Why don't you getting a contract from a company that doesn't know whether they're going to be working in the southwest corner or the northeast corner of the county? Nobody wants to do that. They want more defined areas, smaller areas. They want to know where they're working. And like Bill said, windshield time with our counties, I can't even imagine how much time is wasted driving from point A to point B. It's a lot. You got to respect people's time. I mean, if you're going to take a day off of work to get something done, that's a big deal, and we got to respect that.
How many employees does it take to run the county government, and what does the budget look like each year?
Today we have about just over 2,250 full-time positions assigned to Polk County government. About a third of those are in our public safety sector, about a third of those are in our infrastructure sector, and about a third of those are in our support services, our health and human services group, but just over 2,200 employees. What I'll tell you is that when you look at the constitutionals, the 5 constitutionals, between the sheriff's office and their office, they're about 2,400 total employees. So Polk County government, including the constitutionals, is somewhere just shy of about 5,000 employees. By all accounts, we are a major business. Current year annual budget that the board approved is about $2.4 billion. The budget that I'm going to ask them to approve in October, September of this year, is going to be $2.5 billion. It's the first time we've ever exceeded $2.4 billion. Now we're at $2.5 billion. It's big business. It's big government. But I hope that we're making it such that it's a facilitative type government. It's easy public access. It's easy public transactions. We're investing in technology. We got a lot of challenges, but when I compare ourselves to Hillsborough and some of our neighboring counties, I think we're on par. We're doing as good, if not better, than many of those other governments in the state of Florida.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I tell people all the time, born and raised there in Polk County. I remember the days when we were Polk County and everybody made fun of us and we were the hillbillies of the central part of the state. And now, technologically speaking, with Bill's leadership, we are way ahead of so many other counties. We have so much technology to make our citizens' lives easier, to make our employees more efficient. It's really amazing. I mean, we don't have time to get into those details, but I would like to talk about that someday in the future. But we're way ahead of the curve in many aspects.
So we've talked about the geographic size of the county. We've talked about the employees. We've talked about the money it takes to run the county. Let's talk about the residents in the county. What does the population look like and where is it headed?
Good
It
point.
just changed. It just changed.
It's always
We're
changing.
adding people every day.
2010 census, that was prior to 2010 census, Florida, the state of Florida, was the fourth most populated state. You had California, Texas, New York, Florida. The 2010 census, Florida overtook New York.
2020.
2010 census.
Okay.
2010 census. We overtook the state of New York in terms of being the most populated. So it was, in 2010, it was California, Texas, Florida, New York. 2020, we were still third. I don't believe you'll ever see Florida overtake California. California is about 39 million people, Texas about 29 million people, Florida about 23 million people. You start paring that down, Polk County today is about 785,000 people. We always use a metric of 1 million people. That's the holy grail of numbers for Polk County. What it's going to mean to us is we're going to get to 1 million people and we're going to look around and go, so what? Now we got to deal with all of this. The belief 5 years ago was it would be probably somewhere around 2040 before we would break 1 million people. I believe we're talking somewhere around 2030 now before we'll break 1 million people. That, to some folks in different parts of the county, that doesn't mean anything, but to Polk County, that means substantial growth, substantial demand for services, and all of the urbanization that seems to be happening in Polk. You look at Polk County today as opposed to 20 years ago, you're seeing whole landscapes change. The paradigm is shifting. We're becoming an urbanized county. People have urban service levels of expectation, and you're seeing the day of the ag industry, the citrus industry, that is starting to shrink, and you're seeing fewer and fewer of these real rural these passive environments. You're seeing a lot of urbanization happening in County.
I mean, we provide a ton of urban services for people. I don't know how many customers on the water and the sewer.
We probably have 75, 80,000 accounts in our utility system, and that. The heavy ones are up in the Northeast, but our utility system is growing weekly. There are new subdivisions being added, and those systems get added into our infrastructure. But the growth dynamic is just huge. Polk County, 2 years ago, for the past 2 years, Polk County, Florida has been the fastest growing county in the state of Florida. And 2 years ago, Polk County, Florida was the 7th fastest growing county in the entire country. Last year, Polk County was the 5th fastest growing county in the entire country. We were rivaling counties in Texas, California, Colorado, Idaho, Arizona, all of those states. But Polk County, Florida, for the last 2 years, we've been from 7th fastest in the country to 5th fastest in the country. We've never seen this kind of growth. What does that say for us? I think people see this as a very livable community, very reasonably priced cost of government services.
Safe
Safe community. and the board's number one priority has been assigned to public safety. Based on the numbers Commissioner Braswell was mentioning, you run those numbers, there's about 85 to 90 people a day showing up in Polk County every day.
And this is as the economy slows down. I mean, people are still coming here. Home building has slowed slightly, but it's slowed down a lot in other places. But people still want to be here, and for a lot of reasons, just what Bill said. But and they're coming, and there's not a whole lot we can do about it.
So we're looking at about a 20-year period from 2010 to 2030, roughly, where we would go from 600,000 people to about 1 million people.
That's close, yeah.
So what kind of challenges does that present? And I know we've talked a little bit about it as we've gone along.
Well, I mean, the growth management part, which falls on us all the time, it's tough, We run into a lot of not in my backyard, I'm here, pull the ladder up, that sort of thinking. But people still want to move here, and roads and infrastructure are going to be always behind the amount of people that are moving here. Building a road takes a lot of time, takes a lot of money, and people are willing to pay so much, but only so much. And Bill's job is juggling. I mean, you basically juggle all that. He comes up with these ideas of, I'll give you a great example. Thompson Nursery Road will be a great east-west traffic mover for Polk County, an alternate to Highway 60. It's going to take, 5-6 years to build the road?
5 to 7 years is typical for a, and that's not a congested corridor. You go up to the northeast and try to widen existing highways where you've got condominiums, multifamily complexes, businesses, commercial, industrial. It becomes a challenge for us just to build and improve the transportation system. To Commissioner Braswell's point, growth is everything from increases demands on public safety. Those calls are just going to increase. We have a lot of calls on a yearly basis, not just for fire, but mostly for EMS. But those calls are going to increase. The student population in the public school system here is going to increase substantially. That means more schools. He alluded to transportation. Traffic congestion is already a challenge. With more people, more businesses, more homes means more people on the highways. With the urbanization of Polk County, you're going to see more and more stormwater challenges in terms of impervious surface, retention ponds, all of the things that come with kind of an urbanization environment. Waste collection, people are going to expect they want more parks, they want more sidewalks, they want a number of amenities that have been traditional for city environments, but the county is now becoming urbanized and people expect that.
Even though we have, 17 cities?
17 municipalities.
17 municipalities in this county versus Hillsborough, I think they have 2 or 3.
Yeah.
So I know all these people are coming, and we talk about the fact that they're coming because it's safe. They're coming because we're between Tampa and Orlando.
Right.
But I think they're probably also coming because of what the county government here does and how proactive the county government is in looking for new sources of water and putting in sidewalks where they need to be. I think you guys obviously help keep the county running very smoothly for a lot of people coming in. As we wrap up, is there anything you'd like to add, anything we didn't talk about that's important?
Bill?
Along to your point, people are coming here because I partly think it's several things. One, it's an affordable community. Even though home prices have escalated, rent prices have escalated, but people, I think, find Polk County an affordable community to live in. People, I think, find it's a safe community to live in. We have Grady Judd. The national level, people would love to have him as their sheriff. We are blessed with having him as our sheriff. I think the cost of government is reasonable in Polk County. People understand what they pay in taxes and fees, and in exchange for that, do they get an acceptable level of service? I think so. We're not perfect and we can get better, but I think the board has been very measured about what we charge, why we charge it, and the level of service that we offer. I think this board and future boards are going to be challenged with the dynamics of growth and how do we deal with generating revenue to meet a growing expectation of citizenry that's showing up here. But overall, I put Polk County in the checkbox. I think you look at the relationships that we have with all the municipalities, with all the constitutionals, with the state regulatory agencies, with the state court system. I would challenge you to find a better county in the state of Florida that understands and has a better relationship with all of those entities than Polk County.
And I would say, just to reiterate how well managed it is, the county commissions reduced property taxes 3% last year. We're reducing property taxes 3% again this year. And that can't be done if it's a mismanaged county. It's well managed, and we got Bill Beasley to thank for that.
I've been blessed to have the support of the board, but more so the support of the staff that does this work day in and day out. My job is to see that they have the resources to do their job. You're the ones on the front line out here.
Thank you for helping to keep this a great place to live.
Great to be here.
Thank you again for spending some time with me. That's it for this episode of the Commissioner's Report. Thank you for tuning in. I'm your host, Jeff Foley, and we'll see you again soon. Thank you for watching. Please make sure to subscribe and like our social media.